We have a few more properties to go through, and I gave you the definitions so you don't have to write them in, but I want you to do an example, okay? So identity property. Think of this as identity. Identity is yourself, so how would I figure out if it's myself? So if you're doing addition, basically to find yourself, you just add 0 to something. So the sum of 0 in itself is the number itself. So numerically, basically what you're doing is you're adding a number to 0 and it's going to be its number. So 3 plus 0 is 3. That's identity. Your answer should be the answer you started with. And now algebraically you would just say a plus 0 equals a. And remember, a can be any number. Now, identity property of multiplication. So addition you add 0, but multiplication. If I want to multiply to get the same number back, what do I have to multiply by? Oh, that would be 1. So it would be like 3 times 1 equals 3. So identity property of multiplication is just multiplying by 1. So it would be like a times 1 equals a. And a lot of times this comes into play when you're in algebra and you're trying to figure out what the number is in front of x. You're just going to be given x, and you need to remember that it equals 1x. Oh, and I forgot, a times 1 equals a. Sorry, I did that wrong. But really, that's all you're doing is you're just adding a number in front of it to get it so that it's the same number. So for identity property of addition, you add a 0. For identity property of multiplication, you multiply by 1. And then I'm going to do the multiplication property of 0. So if you want something to be 0, anytime you want something to be 0, you multiply by 0. So it would be like 3 times 0 equals 0. Anything times 0 is 0. So if you do algebraically, a times 0 equals 0. Or you can have b times 0 equals 0. Anything times 0 is going to be 0. And then we're going to go on and we're going to keep on going on this video, and we're going to do the last property, and that's the inverse property. So the inverse property. So basically what you're thinking is, what's the opposite thing I can do to make it so that it cancels out, basically. So for addition, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get it to be 0, but for multiplication, you're trying to get it to be 1. So for the addition, your goal is 0, and I want to show you. So your goal is 0. 1 second, I'm trying to get the green color. It's not working very well right now because my thing is in the way. You can't see the thing, but there we go. So the goal of addition is 0. The goal of multiplication is 1. That's what you need to remember this. So numerically, if you are doing the 0 property, it would be like 3 plus negative 3 equals 0. And another way you could write this is you could say it's like 3 minus 3 equals 0. So basically you're adding the opposite, okay? Algebraically it would be a plus negative a equals 0. So you're just adding its opposite. You can also say like you could have it be negative a plus a equals 0. So basically, what can you get so that it equals 0 for addition? Now, multiplication, what are you going to get it to be 1? So that would be what we call the reciprocal. So before I give you an example, I'm going to go through the reciprocal. So the reciprocal is just when two numbers multiply and they equal 1. X and y are reciprocals of each other. So you just find the reciprocal, you just flip the fraction. So for a reciprocal, it would be like 3 and 1/3, because 3, remember, is like 3 over 1. Or it could be like 5 over 3 and 3 over 5 are reciprocals. Basically, what all you're doing is you're flipping the fraction for the reciprocal. So let's go through the numerical example. So if we have 5 times 1/5, that would be 5 over 5, or it'd just be 1. So this is where you need to know how to multiply. And then algebraically, it'd be like a times 1 over a equaling 1. So what can you multiply to get 1 for the inverse property of multiplication? What can you multiply to get 0 for the inverse property of addition? Now we're going to go through and you're going to actually write some equivalent expressions. For part of it, you're going to tell me what the expression, what kind of property it uses, and then there is some more, and we'll see how many pages we get through, and then there is an enrichment activity you can do on your own if you have time. So what we just did was identity, multiplication property of 0, and the inverse property, and the reciprocal. So now we will do the examples, and then that's it for the videos today.